Thanks very much. I guess I'll begin until the chair can return. Let me start with you, Mr. Gomez. Is there any doubt in your mind that flooding of a Superfund site, whether from storm surge or riverine, riparian flooding, or a wildfire burning through a Superfund site can create contamination issues and, if not properly managed, can interfere with the remediation process?
Certainly, there is no doubt in our past work where we looked at this question, right, of the Superfund sites and then the potential effects from flooding, wildfire, storm surge. There are many sites across the country that are located in places where these things are happening. In fact, we traveled to several sites. We visited a site in Houston, Texas, the San Jacinto River site, where because of unprecedented rainfall from Hurricane Harvey, it actually dispersed the contamination on the river. And so it's happening at sites across the country. I think the purpose of our work was to show how many sites are located in places where these things are happening, and it's important then for EPA to ensure that the remedy that's in place is going to be protective, right?
And I would argue that recent experience that you've described in Texas, also in Florida, shows that this isn't a potential, it's actually happening, and we have to be prepared. And I would add my own editorial comment that the flagrant errors in FEMA flood mapping create an additional burden for people managing Superfund sites because they have to figure out what the real flooding risk is, not what FEMA's phony baloney flooding risk is based on incompetent or inaccurate mapping. I've got a specific question because we've got a Bradford dye and finishing site on the Pawcatuck River in Rhode Island. It's an American wild and scenic river, and there is a significant risk of flooding and release of contamination there. While we're going through the process of remediation, there is significant danger of contamination out of lagoons that have been prepared to sort of as a catchment area. What are the interim measures during the period of a remediation that EPA could require for a site like this while the listing package is being prepared?
So in this case, I mean, EPA can explore other options, and it sounds like this is contaminated sediment, which really complicates, right, in terms of what the agency can do, just because of the various things that are happening in place. In other places, perhaps you could do a removal, right, where you could do a removal perhaps of the contaminants that are present as the continuing work takes place to figure out how you're going to remediate it. But really, I think in those cases, it's important for EPA to have the expertise, right, to be able to figure out what are the steps that they can take in that very site-specific place, and to make sure that it has the expertise, and if it doesn't, that it can go outside to get it.
Mr. Riddell, another site-specific question here. In the Navy property in Newport, Rhode Island, there's an abandoned hospital, which is on extremely valuable property, could be put to valuable reuse. It is within the boundaries of a Superfund site, although it appears to have itself very minor contamination. In your experience, what would be the appropriate vehicles for trying to assist with the development and reuse of that hospital, even though it is within the Superfund boundary, if it can be shown that the contamination specific to the property is minor?
In my experience, you know, if we could separate that hospital location from the overall Superfund site through some kind of segregation, modifying the parcel lots, I think that you know, a competitive bid process for folks to come in and evaluate it would, I think the market would take care of that one. I mean, my suspicion would be there's probably asbestos, ACM contamination in the building.
In the building
possibly.
itself, yeah.
And that could be pretty significant. So, you know, I think an RFP for folks to come in and look, you know, first, you know, asbestos evaluation, and then bring folks in to look at it and kind of get a sense for who would put an investment in to take on that risk would be worthwhile, because I could see that being a motivating factor for folks to get involved and clean that up.
Waterfront property, no less.
Exactly.
Madam Chair.
EPA does have a policy called redefinition of Superfund sites, where you can go through a process and redefine the site boundaries and segregate that property.
I'm going to go to Senator who's